When I win the election, we will immediately begin a brand new Trump economic boom. Vote Trump and your incomes will soar, your net worth will skyrocket. Groceries, cars, everything. We're going to get the prices down.
So let's start first with how unique the drop in the market is under Trump, because I have heard from some Republicans that say this is pretty normal stuff.
Yeah, if this is pretty normal stuff, I'd like to know what not normal stuff is. If this is a boom, I'd like to know what a bust is. I mean, my goodness gracious. We'll talk about it. I mean, talk about the S&P 500. It's dropped 15% under Donald Trump's presidency. The S&P 500 has been collecting data essentially since 1957. It's been an index. I went back and I looked for drops of 15% with a president who was inheriting a bull market. There's only one dude on your screen. It's Donald John Trump. He is the only one to see a drop of 15% this soon into his presidency in the S&P 500 after inheriting a bull market. In fact, there's only one other president who has seen a drop of 15% this early on in his presidency, and that was George W. Bush back in 2001. But of course, he was in fact inheriting the dot-com bubble bust. And so this is truly unique, where you come in with a bull market and then boom, right through the floor, Donald Trump, the S&P 500 dropping already 15%, Jessica.
And so there's the market, but then there's the chance of broader economic problems. And that chance is right. That possibility is rising, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. A chance of a recession, something none of us want to see. And what's the chance of a recession? I mean, J.P. Morgan, look at this, now up to 60%. It was 40% in early March. How about Goldman Sachs? It was 20% in early March. We're now up to 35%. Basically, at this point, you average all these different companies together who put forecasts out on the chance of a recession. It's about 50-50, way up from where we were at the beginning of this year. Poly market, where you can trade, was, I think, a 30% chance at the beginning of the year. Now it's 60%. No bueno. What stays in the stock market, what happens in the stock market may not stay in the stock market, Jessica.
And Americans do seem to be having an issue with how Trump is handling the economy right now.
Yeah, I mean, you look at these numbers, you wouldn't be surprised to see Donald Trump's net approval rating. Compare it now to where it was at this point in the first term. In the first term, he was above water at plus 5 points. Where is he now? He's way underwater. He is swimming with the fishes. Look at this. He is the worst ever for a president at this point in a term, on record at minus 12 points. I just never thought I would see the day, because as we were hinting at the beginning, Trump promised an economic boom. Voters bought into it, but so far they ain't liking what they're seeing.
One of Donald Trump's main promises he made during the campaign season, as you saw there at the start of that CNN clip, was him saying over and over again that he is going to lower costs for Americans, and specifically using the word groceries over and over again, telling Americans that under Joe Biden, groceries had gone up, and that if he was to be reelected, lowering the cost of groceries would be one of his first priorities after being reelected into office. But what we're seeing here is that Americans are not believing in Donald Trump's leadership when it comes to these tariffs. And really what Trump is doing is causing worldwide anxiety, worldwide uncertainty, and is definitely lowering America's status in the world economy, and is lowering trust in America being the top of the world economy. As you saw there, as Enton pointed out, no president in the history of our country has ever inherited an economy that was doing so well and so quickly driven it into the ground, causing lots and lots of economic anxiety for Americans. And really, a lot of people are just wondering, where do we go from here? What about my 401k? What about my retirement? And really, Donald Trump has absolutely no idea what he's doing when it comes to the handling of the economy. What I want to show you here is Trump coming up with a new word for people concerned about his mishandling of the economy. He posted on Truth Social this morning saying, The United States has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak. Don't be stupid. Don't be a panickin'. A new party based on weak and stupid people. Be strong, be courageous, and patient, and greatness will be the result. Trump seems to be very rattled by the response to these tariffs, that not everybody is jumping for joy. Let's listen to him chastise a reporter for asking a question about the tariffs aboard Air Force One.
Which is what it should be.
Is there a Trump put though? Is there pain in the market at some point? You're unwilling to tolerate this idea of a Trump put. Is there a threshold?
I think your question is so stupid. I mean, I think it's I don't want anything to go down, but sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something. And we have such a horrible, we have been treated so badly by other countries because we had stupid leadership that allowed this to happen. They took our businesses, they took our money, they took our jobs, they moved it to Mexico, they moved it to Canada, they moved a lot of it to China, and it's not sustainable. We're not going to do it. Now we have hundreds of billions of dollars is pouring into our country. On a monthly basis, it's pouring. It's already started because they put tariffs on. And eventually it's going to straighten out and our country will be solid and strong again.
On the tariffs, is it a negotiation now? Bloomberg, sir. Is it a negotiation or rules of the road?
Go ahead. Another question, please.
Sir, about TikTok.
She asked too many questions.
Sir.
He calls that question a stupid question. The question of, is there a pain that is so great to the American economy that you will be willing to stop the tariffs? Or is there a point at which you will decide that, okay, this is too much. This is too much for the American economy to handle? Trump calls that stupid. That's not a stupid question. That's a very, very valid question in a time when many Americans are freaking out. Very rightfully so, because of the president's impulsiveness, because of his egotistically driven decision making, and because of his total lack of any plan for working class people in the United States of America. This is coming from the guy that said repeatedly that his number one concern was lowering costs, lowering prices for Americans, lowering inflation for Americans. And now that his policies are not doing that whatsoever, and people are freaking out, and people are wondering, why is Trump doing this to the economy? Why is Trump deliberately destroying the American economy? Is there a point where this gets so bad Trump decides it's not worth it? And that's a stupid thing to ask, when Trump was literally elected to lower costs for Americans. Now we're going to look at head Donald Trump goon Elon Musk, hoping that the tariffs are going to be lifted on Europe. Let's take a look at that clip.
And I'm hopeful, for example, with the tariffs, that at the end of the day, I hope it is agreed that both Europe and the United States should move, ideally, in my view, to a zero tariff situation, effectively creating a free trade zone between Europe and North America. And that would be that's what I hope occurs. And also more freedom of people to move between Europe and North America, if they wish. If they wish to work in Europe or wish to work in America, they should be allowed to do so, in my view. So that has certainly been my advice to the president.
Perfetto, lo raccogliamo con...
That's right. The world's richest man, the man who is further up Donald Trump's colon than any other human being on earth, doesn't think that this is going to benefit his businesses all that much. Wah, wah, wah. Too bad, Musk. Too bad. You bought this last election. You donated more money than any other person who donated money to Donald Trump. And I don't have any sympathy for any of Musk's companies losing value, or Musk not being able to ship his Teslas to Europe so cheaply and so profitably. Too bad, Musk. Get out of government then. Get out of government, or use your influence to back Donald Trump down from doing this disastrous tariff plan, which apparently you were unable to do even for your beloved countries in Europe that you so much want to sell Teslas to. Now we're going to look at a clip of Lutnick saying that jobs are not even going to necessarily come back to the United States, because a lot of the jobs that will be coming to the United States, according to him, are going to be automated jobs done by robots and computers.
You realize trillions of dollars of factories are going to be built in America. That's huge GDP. The factories being built in America are huge.
That takes
GDP.
years. And you've said that robots are going to fill those jobs. So those aren't union
it's really automated
jobs.
It's automated factories, but the key is who's going to build the factories, who's going to operate the factories, who's going to make them work. Great American workers. You know, we are going to replace
on other
the
networks.
armies of millions of people. Well, remember, the army of millions and millions of human beings screwing in little screws to make iPhones. That kind of thing is going to come to America. It's going to be automated, and great Americans, the trade craft of America, is going to fix them, is going to work on them. They're going to be mechanics. There's going to be HVAC specialists. There's going to be electricians. The trade craft of America are high school educated Americans. The core to our workforce is going to have the greatest resurgence of jobs in the history of America to work on these high-tech factories, which are all coming to America. That's what's going to build. Are you concerned?
And if you needed any more evidence that the Republican Party, the MAGA movement, has absolutely no economic strategy, they have absolutely no critical thinking skills, and they have absolutely no planning beyond follow what Donald Trump is doing 100% of the time and be a good little soldier and take your orders and do not think for yourself. Let's go over here to Maria Bartiromo on Fox News with some just absolutely whimsical, wishful thinking in a time when the stock markets are in free fall.
Such an important point that you're reporting there, Cheryl, on what the UK Prime Minister is saying, and that is one more element that we're watching. Are we going to see a deal between the UK and the US? Are we going to see a deal between the US and Israel? Are we going to see a deal with the U.S. and any substantive country that actually could give this market something to reverse this? We're already seeing a steadying. Vietnam is another one, Cheryl. Great point. And we're going to be watching this because this is what we're seeing right now. And every deal that we may see is going to impact this market. Honestly, I would not be surprised if this market reverses course entirely by the close. We're waiting to hear any news out of these negotiations out of the White House. Thank you for that, Cheryl.
You bet.
Dow Industrial is now down 864. We are well off of the lows right now from the futures. We're about 4% off of session lows right here.
It's all going to just turn around by the end of the day on Monday. It's all going to just turn around. I mean, let's hope so. Let's hope so. But it doesn't appear that's going to be what is going to happen, as the backlash from these tariffs seems to be going beyond even the worst expectations of what could happen. Now we're going to look at a clip of CNBC's Joe Kernan roasting White House tariff advisor Peter Navarro on a lack of foresight in what these tariffs would do to the global economy and what they would do to America's standing.
Peter, they're much bigger. I think they're much bigger than most people thought. And I think from policy institutes on both sides of the aisle, the methodology that was used has been universally derided as being non-serious. I don't know whether you know exactly who came up with the formula, but it allowed you to at least characterize most of these countries as being their tariffs well above the reality of the situation, so that when you say that we're going to do half on them, it was much higher than anyone anticipated. And I think you'd have to concede that this was not the market reaction you were looking for. There's a way of maybe incrementally trying to accomplish some of the things that the president wants to do in a reasonable, serious way. And this just almost across the board has caused what you're seeing in the stock market and a lot of head scratching and head shaking on whether anyone really knows what they're doing in this case, Peter.
Right, well,
Can you at least acknowledge that?
Sure. No, I can't, because here's what I'm seeing. You're throwing a lot of stuff at me. First of all, the methodology was perfectly sound. It was done by the Council of Economic Advisors based on long-term studies that are in the academic literature. And the people taking pot shots at us are the same people that always take pot shots at us.
The American Enterprise Institute, Peter.
Of course. Joe, come on. The American Enterprise Institute has been against it.
Conservative, Larry Lindsay.
Let's not get buried down in those weeds now.
So there you have it there. There is not much of a plan whatsoever. The chief advisor on the tariff plan to Trump doesn't really seem to have any sort of plan, doesn't seem to really know where this is headed. And when no one in the administration seems to have a plan, no one in the administration seems to have predicted how badly the fallout was going to be from these tariffs. And the stock market is in free fall, and American allies across the world are losing trust in America at a very, very rapid rate. What you have here is a Donald Trump policy disaster just a few months into his presidency, the likes of which was completely avoidable and was completely brought on by Donald Trump's rash, impulsive decision-making. And it turns out that when you elect somebody who has the personality defects that Donald Trump has, that this is the sort of thing that can happen. And people on the left were saying this over and over and over again. Harris has quipped over the weekend, I told y'all that this was going to happen. Why y'all acting surprised? We tried to warn you. We tried to say Donald Trump is not fit to lead this country. Donald Trump is too impulsive. He is too egotistical to lead this nation and lead the world's strongest economy. And now we're just seeing the latest example, unfortunately, of that. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share with someone who's into politics, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.